Welcome back to the Go on the Match podcast. Today I'm joined by Keg of the Magpies Channel TV. Keg is a match-going Newcastle fan and is one of the hosts of the Magpies Channel TV. Keg, thanks for giving me time today, mate, and thanks for coming on the podcast.
Not a problem, mate. Pleasure. Anytime.
Okay, so massive Newcastle fan. Where were you born and how did your love for Newcastle begin?
So I'm from Northumberland, from a small town about 10 miles north of Newcastle, so not in the city centre, but we're all Geordies up here. We're all, like, you kind of get that reputation, I'm sure, like, down south you kind of know Newcastle as a one city, one club kind of place. Like, everyone's crazy for football up here, so it's kind of like not really a choice. Like, there's not really a moment I can think back of in my life where I thought, oh, I like Newcastle, I think I'll be a Newcastle fan, you know what I mean? Like your parents, your grandparents, your uncles, cousins, friends, your neighbours, everyone's a Newcastle fan. So, you know, it wasn't a choice. I think it's kind of a bit of a cliche, but it's kind of in the blood. Like, you're kind of born with it. So it's a bit of a disease, really.
Well, I think as a football fan in general, though, I think I prefer that because, you know, there's a lot of people that, you know, kids growing up now and they kind of support Chelsea even when they were money and being dead good, City a bit more like that now. I think a lot of people have more respect for those sort of teams, don't they? You know, being family. So I think that's what I love about Newcastle anyways. So your first match that you went to, do you got any memories from that? Going up the stairs for the first time?
Not those kind of memories. No, I remember the game. I usually collect all the tickets. I've got a pile of tickets from games that I've been to over the years. Like, I'm 28 years old now. My first game I was 6. It was back in 1998, a European Cup game against Partizan Belgrade. I don't remember going to it. I remember it being a very dark night, a very cold night up in Newcastle, as it always is. Like, not really much of the game. I remember sitting there being absolutely freezing with me dad. I remember the local hero song, like the full-time song, coming on the tannoy afterwards, and that's about it, really. I can't remember much of it. I remember we won 2-1 against Partizan Belgrade, but that's literally it. Unfortunately, I wish I could remember more of it.
So is there any memories you've got from when you were younger and maybe going into your teenage years that you can remember standing out?
Sorry, you broke up a little bit there, mate.
Have you got any memories from going through, you know, being a child and going as a teenager? Have you got any memories that stand out, any particular games or moments?
I think one of my earliest memories, it might have been my second game, actually. I think it was another European game. I think it might have been CSKA Sofia. It might have been that same season. I can't remember, but I'm sure we got beat and we lost on penalties. And it was that same song, the local hero song, the Mark Knopfler song that came on over the tannoy. And I'm sure we lost on penalties. And I remember thinking it was like a sad song. So I just remember crying that we got beat, like listening to this song over the tannoy. Or like, that was one of my earliest memories. Like I said, the first game, the Belgrade game, I can't really remember. But yeah, I remember crying, losing on penalties to, say, SKA Sofia. And yeah, like that, they're probably my earliest memories. I can't remember the first goal I remember seeing. That I know, looking back on it, that it was a Shearer goal. Typically, I'm kind of pleased that it was a Shearer goal. Any other memory? Honestly, it's really so vague because I was so young, going from 6, 7, 8 years old. Yeah, there's not really much I can remember from like me early days. I think most of the games I used to go to were like midweek games, like on like the later games, like European nights, cup nights on a Wednesday, Thursday, when me dad could take us, really.
So Shearer then, was he your hero growing up?
Sorry, Mike, the signal's a bit dead. I don't know which end it is, but I can't
when
really
you
hear
were growing up, then Shearer was your hero then. For I'd imagine most Geordies had Shearer as a hero.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, he was the guy. He signed when I was just young, 96, I think it was. So yeah, I was a baby. I can't remember him signing, but yeah, we grew up with him for over 10 years. He was the guy, like the local hero. He was just everything. He was just everything to this club. But I was fortunate enough to grow up in a time where Newcastle were actually good. So like I had quite a few heroes growing up, like David Ginola, Les Ferdinand, people like that, and then going through the Keegan era, the Bobby Robson era with the likes of Kieran Dyer and players like that. So yeah, like I was fortunate enough to grow up with a pretty good team, like a bit of a reverse to how it's been over the last 10, 15 years.
That was a fantastic team. So you're part of the Magpie Channel TV now, which is dedicated Newcastle fan channel. How did that come about, and how did you get involved into that?
Well, the channel started up about 3 years ago. It was my friend and me partner on the channel, Matty. He set it up with a lad that he used to work with. It was his idea. He was just looking at fan channels, how they're on the rise. Basically looked at like Robbie from AFTV and just seeing how successful he was and like how like popular fan channels were becoming. And I think there already was 1 or 2 Newcastle channels at the time that we didn't realise. So Matty seen it like as like an opening in the market. He's like, well, why is there not a Newcastle channel? Like everyone else has got one, so I'm going to make ours. So Matty started it up. He had the idea with a lad that he used to work with. The two of them set it up together, ran it for a couple of months. Like it was going pretty well within the first 4 or 5 months, I think it was. But the guy that he did it with met a girl and moved out to Manchester, got a job down in Manchester, so left him on his own. And being like a fan channel, you need a couple of bodies, at least like a cameraman. So that's kind of how I stepped in. Like it was good timing, actually. It was about December time, Christmas time. I left my job to go travel in Southeast Asia. So that was like a 2-week period between Christmas and New Year where I had a bit time off. So I filled in just to be the cameraman. Then after my holiday, after I'd been traveling, I came back and just started filming podcasts, and it just went from there, really. There wasn't really a moment where I thought I'm going to join the Magpie channel. Matty never really officially invited us into the Magpie channel, but it's like 2.5 years later, I'm still here, a football blogging award later, and the channel's going from bit to bit. So yeah, we're partners in this now and just working every day on building it, making it better.
Fantastic. So with Newcastle then, and with the channel, did you find it quite easy with the Newcastle fans? Because I can imagine they're very opinionated, and obviously you've got a lot of topics around the club. Was it quite easy working with the Newcastle fans?
It can be. Like it is a very mixed opinion kind of thing. Fan channels they're obviously not everyone's cup of tea, and we don't pretend to make everyone like it. Like we know that we'll get a lot of stick on social media, as I'm sure every fan channel does. But, you know, like we do get a lot of good things. Like people don't really say things to our face. It's mainly over social media and stuff. Like when we see people at St. James's or in the city centre, it's a lot of love. Like if we ask people to come on, share their opinions, most people are willing to do that. So yeah, like we get good feedback when we're at the grounds, like particularly on away days as well. Like every time we're away, we get recognised like crazy. It's like we're fucking Ant and Dec rocking around it. like it's mad. Like when we were at Old Trafford last year, we literally went through the gate and everyone was like, "Oh, Magpie Channel!" It's like, Jesus Christ, that was crazy.
So, being a Liverpool fan myself, I did do Newcastle away in 2016 when you beat us 2-0. Gini Wijnaldum scored 2. And I've got to admit, even though we got beat, it's one of the best aways I've ever done. You know, the ground's amazing. Even the people in the city were brilliant. And I was in that Sam Jacks before the match, and that was some I probably can't say on the podcast, to be honest. Dead good atmosphere, and it just felt like a proper football city to me. And I think that's why it resonated with me so much. I've got a bit of a soft spot for Newcastle, to be quite honest. But do you get that sort of feedback from opposition fans?
Yeah, massively. I think we know, as I mentioned before, like it is kind of a nationwide reputation that we have, that we're like a one city, one club kind of place, that we're crazy, mad, passionate fans up here, and we love our club. So like when I see like other YouTube videos, like the Offsiders guys and like the Sidemen and things like that, when they do like a tier builder, when they talk about like the best fans or best away days, you know Newcastle is always going to be in the ultimate, which is a massive compliment to us. Like we love hearing that feedback, and we know that like Newcastle is one of the first away days that other fans look for. Like when can we go up to Newcastle? When can we have a good piss up? Because like it's a good night out as much as anything. It's a good night out. It is a good family club, a big stadium. It's great atmosphere. So I'd understand, like, if I was from down south, if I was a fan of another team, like, I would want to do Newcastle away as well. Like, I'd love the night out. And sorry to break your heart, but next time you get back up, Sam Jacks is closed.
I know, I did hear that. I was doing a bit of research and seeing that. I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's done.
So what away pubs have you got up there now?
Oh, you know what it is? We don't really have away pubs. From like us doing away days, like you always hear like, oh, this is the away pub, or it's on this street, or get an address. But as far as I'm aware, we don't have one. We've got a few that I would recommend not going to if you like your teeth. But other than that, like, yeah, there's not like a designated away pub that I'm aware of. Like, yeah, it's just a friendly city. Like, we don't care if you come. We'll have a bit of banter with you, put our arm around you, have a bit joke and that. Watch the earlier game, the 12:30 kickoff. Like, it's not a big deal. So yeah, but there's too many pubs in Newcastle. I think I seen a stat about a year ago saying that we've got more clubs within like it's like a 10-mile radius or however many meter radius, like maybe it's like a 1 mile radius of St James's than any other team in the country by a country mile. I think like Chelsea or maybe the next one, and that's London. Like Newcastle's got so many bars like in and around the city. Like, yeah, you can just go into anyone and feel pretty welcome.
Yeah, I did think that, to be fair, because when we went into St Jack's, it was like there was loads of Newcastle fans in there, and you like the drinking games and stuff, and that's what I mean. That's what I liked about it, and that's why it me so much, because it was just like it wasn't like a moody place. It was just like everyone's just going to get along and watch the footy, and that's sound. And
that's kind of what I would like about away days as well. Sometimes we try and go into any other bar kind of with that naive mindset that we welcome them into ours. Why wouldn't they welcome us into theirs? But some places I've been to, like, you can't get in if you're a away fan. With the last football game I actually went to was West Brom away in the cup last season, just before lockdown, and we got told that there was this away bar. We walked for miles to get to it, and they wouldn't let us in. We're like, fuck's sake. You know what I mean? There was only one bar that we were told we could get into, and we couldn't even get into that. Yeah, it's crazy.
So I wanted to touch on the away fans being up in the gods at St James's. Do you feel having the away fans up there and not close to the pitch helps the home fans create and generate an atmosphere and a better atmosphere? Because being that high up, I did find it was hard for us to generate an atmosphere to help the players on the pitch. Is there some sort of idea at the club behind that?
I'm not sure. I think there must be just put the away fans up in the corner, keep them quiet. That must be the idea behind it. But there has been talk for, well, as long as I can remember, really 5 years or something, to bring the fans lower down onto the lower tier to create more of an atmosphere. Like, that talk's been ongoing for ages, but still hasn't happened. So yeah, I don't know what the club's idea is. There used to be like in the corner. I don't know if they were there last time you were there, because now like they're right behind the goal on the top tier. Whereas it used to be like the block across, like in the corner, so you were like sandwiched between Newcastle fans.
That's what you were, right in the corner.
Yeah. So now they've moved them like across, so like kind of like by like the glass window on one side. So they've moved them across, but not down. I don't know why. Like, yeah, I think Newcastle fans would agree that would be a better way to go about it. Bring the fans down. It causes better banter as well. Like, it's always more fun being closer to away fans.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we would be in favour of that.
I had a Wolves fan on not long ago, and they've obviously got that bottom tier, haven't they, where they spread you out, and that's hard to generate an atmosphere because you're all spread out. And I do think there must be some sort of incentive around the clubs to promote that and stop the fans being the
like a tactic.
Yeah.
I've been to a few big stadiums. Like did Tottenham away. They're like right on the bottom tier behind one goal.
Yeah.
Man United's a big stadium. They're kind of like in the corner, but quite low down. Chelsea's the same. So, yeah, I don't know what the theory is with us sticking you right up in the gods, because I've been up to level 7 as well. It's an absolute nightmare. If you come all the way from like London or the south coast up to Newcastle and then have to climb 7 stories, it's an absolute killer, especially if you've got a heart condition or you're a bit overweight. you need to stop off every floor. It's a killer.
10 pints in, I tell you what, it did that. But then I quite like that. I thought that made it. I think that made the trip, and it made that time out. So no, I thought it was that good. But so as I said, I did Newcastle away, and I'd say 100% go back. any ways that you've done that you stand out that you really enjoyed?
Tottenham, as I just mentioned, was probably my favourite away day ever, to be fair. It was my first time at the Tottenham Stadium. Like, we've only played there once, to be fair, apart from last week behind closed doors. So while fans could get there, there's only been one Newcastle away day at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I was looking forward to it. Like, we went down there with not really much expectation. Like, Tottenham are the superior team, so we went down there just for a day out in the capital, check out the new stadium, maybe see a good game. That was about it. But the sun was bleaching down that day. It was a gorgeous day. The stadium surpassed expectations. It's incredible. If you haven't been, I would recommend going. And we won. We got a surprise 1-0 win. Joe Linton with his first goal for the club. So, yeah, it was the best away day I've ever experienced. And it's probably going to be hard to beat that until we can get back into Europe and get back to Milan and Madrid and Barcelona and places like that.
Do you kind of, obviously, Newcastle at the moment go into games with that incentive, enjoy the trip and get a result, great. You're probably more coming away from that more times now. But do you kind of, because I'm trying to put myself in your shoes as a Liverpool fan, we kind of, now we go into every game expecting to win.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it's great obviously to win, but the expectation's there. As a Newcastle fan, when you go and you win in places that you shouldn't expect to win, does that make it even better?
I guess it does, yeah. I think it makes you appreciate 3 points more because, yeah, like if I was in your situation, the last 2 seasons, you've been getting north of 97 points. Yeah. Like, you do just expect wins. You breezed through the Champions League a couple of seasons ago. Like, winnings, like if you lost, you'd be absolutely foaming, like assuming a win. Whereas us, like, yeah, like we take each game as it comes. Like when I was growing up in like the Kevin Keegan era, the Bobby Robson era, when we were a top 4 club, like to coming down to where we've been in the last 10, 15 years, just scuppering on the relegation zone, even down in the championship, like would take each game as it comes. Like even the teams like a Brighton or a Bournemouth or something, you kind of expect to win. But sometimes when we don't, it's just so frustrating. So when you do get the 3 points, like even like in the last couple of years, we've had big wins against the likes of Man United and Chelsea and Arsenal and things like that, and it just makes it all that sweeter. Yeah, it's a great feeling to come away with 3 points especially when you don't expect it. Yeah,
but I suppose you as fans probably go and enjoy the away and everything that comes with the away day, because you can't do anything about the 90 minutes, and obviously, like you say, the expectations there. So obviously you just go and enjoy yourselves really, and go and travel to these places where you wouldn't even go if it wasn't for the footy, would you? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I enjoy away days. Like it is like one of the best parts about being a fan, and particularly doing the channel. You get to travel and see new cities, new stadiums that you haven't seen before. There's still many that I haven't done, that's still on the to-do list. But when you go and experience somewhere like the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and all these places, like it's great. You can't beat away days. And like say, even if you don't get the win, usually if you get hit on lucky, like get good weather, find a few nice bars, meet some new people, it's just fun, isn't it?
So I wanted to dive into a few topics away from the match day now. Obviously, I'm sure everyone listens aware of Mike Ashley, the ownership of the club, and we all know, obviously he doesn't care about the club or anything to do with fans. But recently, it looked like there would be some new owners taking over, but that's been blocked by the Premier League. How frustrating has that been as a fan to come so close? And do you think you'll get that opportunity again in the near future?
Well, it's massively frustrating, but also somewhat expected, because we've been down this path before. It was last summer that we had a supposed Dubai takeover. This year it's been a Saudi Arabian takeover. But in the meantime, there's been rumours of Americans and Chinese and all these other people trying to buy the club. But I think we're kind of more hung up on getting Mike Ashley out of the club, that we're just a bit vulnerable at the minute. Like we just want him out of the club so much. We believe all this tabloid bullshit when 99% of the time it's not even true. Like we did that last year. We had the supposed Dubai takeover. It was leaked by Sky Sports News, so everyone was getting their expectations up. Like it's going to happen. But it was a fake story. It was Donald Trump fake news. Like it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So this year, like we feel like sometimes we've got a bit of a harder core now. Like we've got a bit of a hard outer shell that we're not going to get sucked into these kind of rumors again. Like we've always got our guard up. But so when the Saudi Arabian takeover came through, I honestly, I wanted to believe it, but I just couldn't. I just wouldn't let myself be suckered in again. But the harder the stories came, the more leaks there was. Sky Sports News saying this, that, and the other, and like it felt real. Well, I know it was real this time. The Dubai takeover wasn't, but the Saudi Arabian one fully was. So yeah, like the longer the story ran on, I think the majority of were believed that it was about 99% done. Like all the papers were submitted, the deal was agreed, Mike Ashley was happy to leave, but it just went to that final stumbling block, which didn't happen. So yeah, we got left disappointed again. But I think Mike Ashley finally has kind of had enough now. Like I think he's toyed with our emotions for long enough. I think he's made us suffer for long enough. I think he's sick of it as well. Like, I can't imagine being in his shoes at being very nice, because he wouldn't be able to walk around Northumberland Street in Newcastle safe. He wouldn't be able to go within a mile of St James's Park without getting lynched. So, like that can't be a nice feeling. Like, people go down to his door and wherever he lives and like shout abuse at, like, through his letterbox and stuff. Like, he's got kids and stuff. So Mike actually just needs to do the honourable thing now and sell up. One thing that he has done in the past is he's always said he'll accept an offer if it's going to someone who's going to better the club, which is great for us, for him to come out and say something like that. Whether we believe it or not, I'm not sure. But we would like to think that he is going to leave the club in, well, it couldn't really be in worse hands, but he's going to put it in someone who really wants to invest in the club and make it a better future. So hopefully it's going to happen, but we just can't be suckered into tabloid rumours anymore. Like, if it's going to be another 4 or 5 month story that drags on and on and on, we just can't be asked for that. We just want it to be an overnight thing. The club's done. We can move on from Mike Ashley and hopefully see better days in the future.
Is it got to the point now with yourselves that you're not even too fussed about who comes in and takes over? You just want him gone? Because I kind of look at it and think, we had Hicks and Gillette that came in. And it was in 2007 and they took over. And it was almost like, you know, they were saying the right things. They were starting to spend money, but obviously we all know how that went. And then it got to the point when FSG obviously basically got us out of the rut that we were in. And it was kind of like, they're Americans as well, but, you know, we're just going to take anything we can get, you know, and if we can get the right owners, obviously that's perfect as well. Has it got to that point with yourselves where it's just like, just anyone will do and just get him out?
It kind of is, or it was, but now I think we're trying to be a little bit more ambitious, even though like we might not even, it's maybe a bit too much to ask. But yeah, like last year after the failed Dubai takeover, there was talks of Peter Kenyon coming in or trying to get a consortium. I think he was trying to lead a takeover funded by someone else. And it's like, mate, if you can't afford to buy this club, then what you doing? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like Mike Ashley's a bellend, but at least he's still worth a few billion, you know what I mean? Like, at least he can put money in where it can be. So sometimes you need to be careful what you wish for. Yes, we want Mike Ashley out of the club at any cost, but it could end up more costly than it's worth, really. So I think once we had a taste of the Saudi Arabian takeover, we were already kind of spending that money. We were bringing Mbappe in and all this stuff. Like, we kind of still want someone good. There's been talks of, I can't remember the guy's name, but some American guy who's basically just meant to be the American Mike Ashley. Like, he was supposedly ready to step in once the Saudi Arabian takeover was officially dead. But it's like, do we want another Mike Ashley? Like, yeah. Are we better off in Mike Ashley's hands, just chugging along season after season instead of potentially giving it to someone worse? Or do we hold out for a Saudi Arabian, some absolute filthy rich bloke to come in and pump billions in? Like, it's almost a catch-22. Like, what do you do? Do you stick it out with Mike Ashley and hope for a better day, or do you give it to anyone who could end up being worse? Like, it's a strange situation to be in, but yeah, we definitely want Mike Ashley out as soon as possible.
So as a fan base then, obviously I touched on there, Hicks and Gillette with us. That's kind of where we set up the Spirit of Shankly group to try and get them out and, unite as a fan base to get them out. Mm-hmm. If you guys had anything similar, have you got any like supporters groups like that? And if you took any actions against it, and obviously it must be hard to feel like you're doing anything. But I think was it last season or the season before that a lot of people were going to stop doing the season tickets and kind of stop doing that?
Yeah, we've been trying for a good few years now, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years. There's a bunch of supporters groups, the NUST, the Newcastle United Supporters Trust. There's the Magpie group. Like, we've got a whole bunch of organisations. The Magpie group were kind of the leaders in this at one point, but I think the NUST is kind of taken over that now. We've got a group called War Flags who make like all like the flags and that for the stadium, the big drapes and stuff. Like, they've stopped going now to lessen the atmosphere. But yeah, we have started to boycott the season before last, especially. I remember the first game of the season was against Arsenal. We had a mass boycott. I know dozens of people that gave up season tickets. I know one guy who comes on our channel regularly who still pays monthly for a season ticket because he took out the 10-year deal, who hasn't gone to a game in about a year and a half, but still pays for his ticket just to keep the seats empty, to try and just make it look like we're doing something about it. Like, it has kind of seemed like it is a bit of a waste of time at times, because, like we say, like, I just don't think Mike Ashley cares anymore. Like, he's made us suffer for long enough. It's kind of like almost like he enjoys it. I think by us not going, he doesn't really care. I think the best thing that could have happened for Newcastle, which is a horrible thing to say, is lockdown, because that's what's been hitting him hardest. Like, obviously, his high street businesses have been suffering. He's had 52,000 people not going week in, week out. So I think that's why he was so inclined to sell to the Saudis, because he just needed a quick 350 million. So yeah, we've been trying. We've been really, really trying, protesting outside the ground every game, flags, cancelling tickets. But honestly, it has seemed like a little bit pointless, because I think he's just comfortable. He's not really that bad.
It must be so difficult though, because they're your club, aren't they? And going every week, that's the working class game. And having these owners that are in the Premier League and elsewhere now, taking that away from something that you love, going every other Saturday to your team, it is heartbreaking to hear. So just trying to put myself in your shoes again as a Newcastle fan. You boys must be striving for a trophy now, even if it's just the League Cup or the FA Cup or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Very similar to Everton in that sense. And it's been a long time, really, for such a massive club to have such a trophy drought, I suppose. Has there been a time since you've been following the team that you think, we've got a chance here, that we might bring some silverware home?
Not seriously. I think in particularly like the Bobby Robson days, like 15 to 20 years ago, there was every chance we could win an FA Cup or a League Cup, just like anyone else, really. We wouldn't write ourselves off. I think against the likes of a Liverpool, a Chelsea and Arsenal, I think we could have even gone there. Like teams have won the domestic cups in the past, like Portsmouth and teams like that. Like, you can never write yourself off from a domestic cup. But we have, over the last 10, 15 years, we haven't had any ambition of getting to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup and the League Cup for the first time. This season and last season with the FA Cup for the first time in 15 years. So, yeah, the championship season is the only season where we're pretty much guaranteed silverware. I think that's the only time we're actually confident of winning something. But we got the back-to-back FA Cup finals in 98 and 99, and that was the last time we got to a final, 1999. But yeah, since then, it's just to keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully we can go somewhere. Now it's just kind of hoping for a cup run. That's all we've been looking for the last 10, 15 years, after failure to get even a quarter final in 15 years. All we want is just to push on and just do well in the cup, because it kind of seems like managers in the past have just not really been that bothered putting out a B side against like League Two teams and falling out. So yeah, all we want now is just a Wembley day, just a semi-final or something, just something to cheer about. Like, yeah, that's all we really want at the minute.
I kind of always think back to the Pardew team that you had. You pushing top four and had Demba Ba.
Yeah.
Cisse was another one, wasn't he?
Uh-huh.
Did you not even think at that time that, you might start to build something?
Not really.
No.
Like that's probably the best season it has been for, well, certainly in the Mike Ashley era. First time we actually broke almost top 10, I think. It's definitely the highest we've been. I think we finished 5th that season. We started really, really well. I think we were top in the first few weeks. I don't think we lost a game until about November. We were flying high, but with Mike Ashley as the owner and Alan Pardew as the manager, it's never going to last. Like, it was just a one-off season. We knew we were never going to, we're hoping we would maintain top 4. We knew that winning the league was never really a realistic target. But yeah, it's what comes the few seasons after. And that is a bit of a sad thing about us in the Mike Ashley era, that has been our best season under Alan Pardew. And it was only a year or two later we were protesting outside the ground to get him out. Like, people were holding banners saying Pardew out. We were protesting. We were like bottom of the league. So that's how bad it has been. Like, yeah, like he done great. He won Manager of the Year that year, Pardew. So yeah, fair play to him. We did have a very, very good year under him. Bar and Cisse were on fire. The likes of Kabai and Ben Arthur. We had a really, really good team. But yeah, it was never going to last. We needed a better manager and a better owner with a bit more ambition.
So you touched on when you went down to the Championship. As a fan, what was that like, if you can kind of try and explain it in as many words?
It was a cross between heartbreaking and absolutely brilliant because we were winning like regularly. So it was horrible being down there. Like, we didn't want to be there. Like that's when I gave up my season ticket. It was 2010. It was the 09-10 season that we got relegated first time. I had a season ticket up until that point. But at that age, I was like 16, 17, and I was more interested in like going out on a Saturday with my friends, having fun, instead of going to see like Scunthorpe and Plymouth. You know what I mean? Like, coming from the likes of Liverpool, saying big teams to like, no disrespect to teams like that, but we didn't want to play them. We didn't want to be down there. Like, I don't actually think I went. Actually, thinking back to it, I might be wrong, but in the 2 seasons we've spent in the Championship in the last 10 years, I don't think I actually went to one game. I just didn't really have any interest. Like, we were winning. If we were on TV, I would watch we and support we, of course. And yeah, we won both seasons, top of the league, quite comfortably the first time round especially. Yeah, it was great to win. Like, kind of having that buzz back. Like, that's probably when St James's has probably been as lively as it's been, to be fair. Like, winning regularly. It was brilliant, but we didn't want to be there. The quicker we could come back to being 17th in the Premier League, the better.
So, finally, the podcast is centered around Going the Match. So with every podcast we're doing, I want to end by asking what your top 3 favourite matches you've been to. So it doesn't have to be based on the 90 minutes itself. It can be something that's happened during the day or for whatever reason.
Away days.
Whatever you want, no particular order.
Ooh, I'll go with the one I mentioned before, Tottenham. That was probably my favourite today. I said that'll be hard to beat. Like, the sun, the unexpected win, the beautiful new stadium. That was incredible. That's been one of my favourite days as a fan in a long, long time. The last game of the season 2 seasons ago, we played away to Fulham when Fulham were already relegated. I think they were long down by the last game of the season came. So we went down there and we got there the night before and we did a Thames cruise. There was like a boat party down the Thames before the game. So we were on the boat, like it was the Geordie Armada. So we're just all getting pissed from like 9 o'clock in the morning. But that was another brilliant day. If that was raining, you would imagine that being horrendous. But it was scorching. I got sunburned. I've got ginger skin. I got burnt to a crisp on the boat. It was absolutely brilliant. And we went down to Craven Cottage and we won 4-0. Brilliant performance. And that was also the last game for Rafa Benitez, for Solomon Rondon, for Ayose Perez, Mo Diame. So it was quite emotional at the end of the game, to be fair, like, because we were in there and obviously being the last game of the season, all the players were coming towards you, applauding you, thank you for coming, thank you for supporting with this season. And we just knew that a handful of them weren't going to be there next season, particularly Rafa. So it was actually quite emotional. I don't know if it's because we're about 9 pints deep, but it was a brilliant day all around. So yeah, that's up there, almost tied with the Tottenham game. We've had a couple as well, like particularly away days. Like, I think you enjoy most St James's games. Like, But yeah, a couple of years ago, we went to Old Trafford away, and we were 2-0 up in 10 minutes. Like, that doesn't happen very often away to Old Trafford. The team we had out was a poor team as well, and we absolutely battered them in the first 10 minutes, 2-0 up. Seeing that through to half-time, everyone going crazy in the concourse at half-time. And we held on to the 2-0 lead up until about 70 minutes, and then eventually lost the game 3-2. So the results could have been better, but the first 70 minutes were amazing. And yeah, I think one of the best atmospheres, the short-term atmosphere I've ever experienced as a Newcastle fan, was last season away to Everton. Everton's a good ground for me. We've got friends down there that live on Goodison Road, literally a stone's throw away from Goodison. So it's always a good away day for us there, personally. But it was a shocking game for us. We were 2-0 down. Everton were comfortable, took the foot off the pedal, probably could have scored a third if they wanted to. But yeah, like the fans were starting to leave, both Everton and Newcastle fans. It was about, we're into the 93rd minute, and we pulled off a 90-second comeback, finished the game 2-2, if you remember that.
Yeah, I do.
Like that, like, despite being a shocking game, saying no shots on target for 93 minutes, you can imagine travelling down to Liverpool to watch that. It was absolute dross. But when the game's at 93 minutes and you're 2-0 down, you don't expect a thing, do you? But to come back and to score 2 goals in 90 seconds, that atmosphere was probably the best I've ever experienced as a fan. So yeah, that's got to be, that'll be hard to beat. In terms of a 90-second atmosphere, you'll never get that again. But yeah, that was incredible. I'll never forget that.
So I don't think there's a better way to finish the podcast than talking about an Everton meltdown.
Jordan Pickford midget arms. We love it. We love it.
So just before you go, mate, just a massive thank you for giving up your time. I really enjoyed it, mate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, not a problem, mate. Thank you for having me.
If you haven't already, please subscribe, follow and share, and of course, leave a 5-star rating.